everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and it's tier list time. And today I took a look again at our top comment from last week's video, and it was asking for me to make a tier list of every single nerfed and buff card in Hearthstone history. I've already done a video on every buffed card in Hearthstone history. I'll link it in the description below. So we're going to take a look at every single nerf card, and we're going to rate every single nerf card on their pre-nerf version from tier S to F. S being a god tier, insanely good card, and F being absolute garbage. I will note, I'm not going to take a look at like the nerfs done in like alpha and beta. It's going to be all stuff starting from after the game officially went live, and yeah, those nerfs going from there. So there was a lot of stuff in alpha beta. We're not going to cover that. And there's already over 100 nerfed cards we're going to go over here. So I'm going to go as quickly as possible. Otherwise, this video is going to be like 2 hours. So we won't be going quite as in depth. But let's get going. Let's take a look at every single nerfed card in Hearthstone history. So we will start with Abusive Sergeant. It was a 1-mana 2/1 minion that gave a friendly minion +2 attack. It's now a 1/1. And it was really good. Very good in a lot of aggro decks, whether it be Face Hunter, Paladin decks, whatever. Just very good. Early tempo, buff. Definitely give that an A. We have Eldraki Warblades, 3-mana 2/3 lifesteal weapon for Demon Hunter, was nerfed to a 2/2. Still sees a lot of play today. It was absolutely busted day one, but not quite S tier. Definitely very good though. We'll give it an A. Next we have Altruist, the Demon Hunter Legendary, is a 3-mana 3/2, and it would deal 1 damage for every outcast card you would play, and it could basically clear the board, kill your opponent. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous at 3 mana. S tier all the way. One of the reasons Demon Hunter was so ridiculous early on. We have Ankar. It's a 3-mana 2/3 warrior weapon. After you attack, you draw a pirate. And yeah, it got nerfed to a 2/2. Still auto-included in like how many warrior deck? It's still an S tier card nerfed. So you got the idea. It's definitely an S tier card before it got nerfed. Next, we have Ancient of Lords. It's 7-mana 5/5 for Druid. You get to choose one. Draw 2 cards or restore 5 health. Eventually, it's nerfed that you could only draw 1 card. This was like auto-include in every Druid deck for the longest time until it was nerfed. And I would argue today, if it was draw 2 cards, it wouldn't be good enough. You would just be doing the Twilight Runner Guardian Animal stuff. So I'll give it an A, but back then, it was definitely an S tier card for sure. Then we have Arcane Golem. It's a 3-mana 4/2 neutral minion. Charge, battle cry, give your opponent mana crystal. So you'd ramp them, but you get to go face. It was really good in like Face Hunter. There was some OTKs with this card. Very powerful. Not quite S tier, but definitely an A tier card. And it's now a 4/4 with no charge. Just terrible. Then we have Archmage Elysiana. Was an 8-mana 7/7. It's now 9 mana. And you know the deal. You get 2 copies and you shuffle. You discover 5 cards and you shuffle 2 copies of each into your deck. Yeah, late game value for at least, control decks, all that stuff. I'll give it a B. It was more nerfed for like, they didn't have to cast 8-hour games and stuff like that. But, it had its meta impact in like Warrior and Shaman and Priest. It definitely did some stuff. We have Aviana, 9-mana 5/5 for Druid. Your minions cost 1. Got nerfed to 10. Aviana Coon is what made this card insane. It wasn't that great until Coon came out, but once it did, it was S tier all the way. And if you would unnerf this, Druid would be the absolute nuts yet again in Wild. Ya melon, ya win unless you get ratted. It'd be ridiculous. We have Bad Luck Albatross, 3-mana 4/3 Beast, Death Rattle, shuffle 2 1/1 Albatrosses in your opponent's deck. This was just like auto-include in a lot of decks, whether you're disrupting Highlander or just disrupting draw. It was just very solid. I'll give it an A as it's nerfed. And its unnerfed version, and now it's a 4-mana card. Barely sees play outside of like Hate Warlock in Wild and like some Res Priests and stuff like that. We have Barnes, 4-mana 3/4 Battlecry, summon a 1/1 copy of a minion from your deck. Staple in like Big Priest, Spell Hunter, things like that. Cheat out Yashiraj, ridiculously stupid, absolutely nuts at 4 mana. We'll give it an S. It stole so many games for so long. Now it's 5 mana, not quite as insane. We have Battle Fiend, was a 1-mana 2/2 Demon Hunter minion. Gain +1 attack every time your hero attacks. And yeah, one of those busted 1-drops ever. Absolute S tier. It's still auto-include in like every aggressive Demon Hunter deck as a 1/2 now. Just ridiculous. We have BGH, Big Game Hunter. 3-mana 4/2 Battlecry, destroy a minion with 7 or more attack. Killed Dr. Boom, killed a lot of big stuff. It was cheap. Druid liked it because it didn't have hard removal, and a lot of other decks ran it. I'll give it an A as its unnerfed version. Saw a little bit of play, even nerfed at 5 mana, but I won't quite give it that S tier rank. We have Blackjack Stunner, 1 mana, 1/2 rogue minion, and it's basically a targeted freezing trap. Back then, you would, as long as you have Secret up, you could put a minion back in your opponent's hand. It costs 2 more. Very good. A tier minion. Got nerfed that it's 1 more. Still basically an A tier minion. Hasn't changed a lot. Just a lot less punishing when you like sap a 9 attack minion. We have Blade Flurry, 2 mana rogue spell. It would destroy your weapon and deal its damage to all enemies and minions. Ridiculous in like Oil Rogue, and was eventually nerfed to 4 mana, and it doesn't hit the enemy hero anymore. So it's kind of bad. Even saw play nerfed at 4, believe it or not. I'll give it an S tier. S tier card. Like, Rogue was just ridiculous with it. Imagine this with Kingsbane now these days if it could go face. Ridiculous. Absolute S tier card. Next, we have Blood Bloom, 2 mana Warlock spell. Your next spell you cast this turn costs health instead of mana. Ridiculous in like Darkest Hour Warlock, Mechathune Warlock, pretty much exclusive to Wild. But it made those decks ridiculous. I'm not going to give it an S because it just didn't really see that much play in Standard. And again, the impact on Wild was strong, but not at that S tier level of like an Aviana or Barnes in my opinion. Then we have Blood Boil Brute, 7 mana, 6/8 Russian minion for Warrior. Got nerfed to 5/8. Basically A tier minion before, basically A tier minion after. Just really good. The nerf barely did anything, but I wouldn't give it an S. We have Bloodsworn Mercenary. Was originally a 3 mana 3/3. Get a copy of a damage minion. It was nerfed to a 2/2. Same thing as Brute. Same power level afterwards. The stat line decrease just didn't really matter. Bone Mare was a 7 mana 5/5 minion that would give a friendly minion +4/+4 in taunt. Was nerfed to 8 mana. Still saw play at 8. Was ridiculous at 7. Won't give it quite the S tier, although it's very close. I'll give it a very high A. We have Cabal Acolyte, recently nerfed. It's a 4 mana. I'm showing the wrong one here, but it was a 4 mana 2/6 taunt. With a spell burst, you would gain control of a minion with 2 attack less. And yeah, really good. Still sees a lot of play. I'll give it an A. Very solid in Priest, but definitely not like a meta warping card. We have Call the Wild, was nerfed to 9 mana, originally 8 mana, then reverted. It's 8 right now, and you'd summon 3 Animal Companions, so you guarantee you get them all. It's a very solid card, but never really that meta defining in either Standard or Wild. Just good. So I'll give it a B. Just, you know, even when it got nerfed, it didn't really make much sense when it happened, and it never really made sense. It was just good. Nothing amazing. We have Call to Arms. It was originally 4 mana, and you would recruit 3 minions from your deck that cost 2 or less. S tier. One of the most busted cards ever. It's absolutely ridiculous at 4 mana. It was still pretty good at 5, but this, even Paladin at 4, was one of the most busted things ever. Ridiculously good. We have Charge, a 3 mana warrior spell. It would give a friendly minion charge +2 attack. Really good in like Raging Worgen, OTK, charge combos, things like that. But they were never like top tier. They were just very good and solid. They just nerfed it to take this interaction of OTKs out of the game. I'll actually give it a B. That deck was never really tier 1. There were some other charge combos, but they never were that super relevant. I'll give it a B, but maybe you could give that one an A. There's definitely consideration for it. We have Cold Blood, originally 1 mana rogue spell. Give a minion +2 attack, combo +4 attack. Absolutely ridiculous in like Odd Rogue, Aggro Rogue, anything with Leroy, 1 mana +4 damage. Completely nuts. Completely nuts. I'll give it an S. I really think Cold Blood was insane and was a staple in just too many rogue decks. Ridiculously good. We have Conjurer's Calling, originally 3 mana, twin spell, destroy a friendly minion, summon 2 of the same cost. Conj at 3 was just beyond broken, especially the Mountain Giant in the game, and you would get a taunt, a 7/8 taunt, the Priest minion that was still in the game. Broken. This card was just busted. And you have like Kagdar Conjure. You could play a Mountain Giant on 3 and then play Kagdar, or sorry, on 4, and then play Kagdar Conjures on 5. It was just insane. S tier. Absolute S tier card, and still sees plenty of play today. We have Corridor Creeper, 7 mana 5/5 beast, that whenever a friendly minion dies while this is in your hand, it costs 1 less. We all know this card. Absolutely broke the game when it came out. 0 mana 5/5s in a meta of patches, Prince Keleseth, all that kind of stuff. Ridiculously busted. Absolute S tier. One of the most powerful cards ever. Ultra's probably goes like down here, by the way. Anyways, we have Corrupted Elementalist. It's a 5 mana 3/3 Shaman Invoke card. It would Battlecry Invoke Galakron twice, so you get 2 2/1 elementals with Rush. It was nerfed to 6 mana, and still saw play at 6. And yeah, really insane. That day 1 or week 1 Galakron Shaman was ridiculous. One of the best decks ever in Hearthstone, and this was a big reason for it. I will give it a low S. I do think it is quite that good, but yeah, just insane. Next, we have Corsair Cash, 2-mana warrior spell. Draw a weapon, give it +1/+1. It was nerfed to only increase durability. Still auto-include in how many warrior decks these days? It's just nuts. And yeah, we're gonna give it an S. Absolutely ridiculous. If it's this auto-include with half the bonus that it gives, it's still just, yeah, ridiculous. Next, we have Crimson Sigil Runner. Demon Hunter minion, 1-mana 2/1, outcast draw a card. It's now a 1/1. It's very good. I didn't think it really carried Demon Hunter. It was just a solid card. And now it doesn't see a heck of a lot of play, but as a 1-mana 2/1, I'll give it a B. I never thought that card really carried and made that was the reason why that deck was so insane, but it was very solid. Next, we have the Caverns Below, the original rogue quest, and we all know how absolutely broken this quest was. You just had to play the same minion 4 times at the same name or whatever, and then your minions for the rest of the game would be 5/5s for the rest of the game. It was just broken. You could complete this on turn 2 and 3. I know this was busted when it made Kibler swear on stream. That is a broken card. Absolute S tier. Ridiculous. It got nerfed multiple times because it was so broken. Next, we have Dark Lair, a recently nerfed card. It's a 3-mana 3/4 minion that every time you took damage, you gain 2 mana crystals. It's 2-mana 2/3 now, and you gain 1 crystal. Still sees plenty of play in Standard and Wild nerfed, and unnerfed, it was absolutely broken in Wild, ridiculously broken in Wild, and in Standard, it was good. It was like a tier 1, tier 2 deck. I'm gonna give Dark Lair an S. It was that insane, and definitely was so insane for, especially in Wild, the Team 5 literally had to nerf a card specifically for Wild that was in Standard for the first time in history. So that's pretty busted. Next, we have Dark Pact, 1-mana Warlock spell that would destroy a friendly minion and you restore 8 health, was nerfed to 4 health. Ridiculously good in Q block back in the day. I think it would still see a lot of play if it was back at 8 health, because 1-mana 8 health is ridiculously powerful. I'm not going to give it an S, but a very high A. Very powerful, very good, and, you know, Warlock likes to heal and destroy stuff, and it did that very well. Next, we have Dragoncaster, a mage minion. 6-mana 4/4 Battle Cry. The next spell you cast costs 0 as long as you're holding a dragon. You cheat out Power Creation, Puzzle Box, Pocket Galaxy, all these ridiculous things. The card itself, I don't think was S tier, but the cards it cheated out were S tier and enabled a lot of insane stuff. It got nerfed to 7 mana. I'll give it an A, but definitely not quite an S for me. Next, we have Dragon Queen Alistraza. When it originally came out, it was a 9-mana 8/8 dragon. Battle Cry, as long as your deck has no duplicates, you get 2 dragons to your hand. They cost 0. It could it could get itself back in the day. Then it was nerfed so it couldn't. And then it was nerfed that the dragons cost 1. Absolutely broken S tier minion. One of the most powerful minions ever created. You didn't even need to play it a Highlander. You could just get it later in the game off a Lackey or something. Just broken. Absolutely busted. And we could go Dragon Queen and a Dragon Queen and a Dragon Queen. Oh my goodness. Just ridiculously crazy good card. Next we have Dragon's Pack, Shaman Galakron card. If you've invoked twice this game, you get +3/+3 on your 2/2/3 taunts. Otherwise, you just get 2/2/3 taunts. That's 2, 5, 6 taunts for 5 mana. That was busted. It didn't die to Kronks. It was just so stupid. That Galakron Shaman deck was ridiculous, and this was one of the main reasons why. Once this card got nerfed, so it's only +2/+2, is one of the main reasons it got notched down to a pretty unplayable class, but we'll definitely give it an S. Ridiculously good card. Next, we have Dr. Boom Mad Genius. It was originally a 7 mana. Death Knight or hero card, whatever you want to call it. Your mechs have rush, and you get all the different hero powers. Got nerfed to 9, then reverted back to 7. In its run in Standard, it was definitely S tier, but as power creep has gone on, Galakrons, all that stuff, cards kind of been, yeah, even at 7, reverted. It's not that great in Wild. I'll give it a very high A. I kind of want to give it an S, but I'm going to give it a very high A. It's a very powerful card at 7, and yeah, it definitely terrorized the Standard meta for quite some time. We have Dreadsteed. Dreadsteed was actually nerfed. It originally was 4 mana, 1/1, Death Rattle, summon a Dreadsteed, so you just immediately got a Dreadsteed right away. Then they made it so that you didn't get a Dreadsteed until the end of your turn, so you couldn't like infinitely loop off of different things. It was apparently there was some bug with the file, would break the game, so they nerfed it. Dreadsteed was literally only a meme card, never in any competitive deck. It was just, you know, kind of garbage. So actually F tier, unnerfed card. It was nerfed more for quality of life purposes, so we'll give it an F. One of these rare nerf cards that is an actual F. We have Eagle Horn Bow. Believe it or not, way back in the day was nerfed. It's a 3-mana 3/2 weapon. and it would gain +1 durability whenever his secret was revealed. That means you would gain durability for the enemy revealing a secret, not just yourself. And then it was nerfed that you would only gain it if one of your own secrets got revealed. So Eaglehorn Bow is still like in every single hunter deck, not every single, but a ton of hunter decks to this day. It is very powerful. I didn't play when this was unnerfed, but I can only imagine how ridiculous that was. So I will give it an S, considering it's 2020 and this card still sees play in a nerfed version. I gotta give it an S, even though I never played with that version, because I didn't start playing until GVG came out. Next, we have a quality 2 mana Paladin spell. Set the health of all minions to 1, nerfed to 4 mana, and doesn't really see any play anymore, but back then, quality Consecrate, incredibly good. Quality Wild Pyro, 4 mana full board clear, unless there's Death Rattles or Divine Shields. Very powerful card, definite staple in Paladin. I'll give it a high A. I don't think it was an S tier card, but absolutely really, really good. Next, we have Evil Miscreant, Rogue Minion, 3 mana 1/5. Combo, add 2 random lackeys to your hand. Was nerfed to a 1/4, but is still auto-include in basically every single standard road deck since its inception. It's incredibly powerful. Lackeys are busted. This card gives you 2 of them. You can Shadow Step it. It's a good body for Taunt Lackeys, Evolve Lackeys. Absolutely ridiculous card. Definitely S tier. Super good. No debate about it, in my opinion, on that one. Next, we have Execute, 1 mana warrior spell. Destroy a damaged enemy minion. Got nerfed to 2 mana. Still sees fringe play at 2, but at 1 was insanely good in like Control Warrior. You could even play it in Tempo Warrior. It was like Tempo Dragon Warrior was the last Tempo deck it was really in, because 1 mana Execute, just insanely powerful. I'll give it a very high A, kind of in that equality range where it's just a very, very powerful card, but not quite that like meta warping, ridiculously powerful card, but borderline. Next, we have Extra Arms. This card was buffed to 2 mana and then nerfed back to 3 mana. And Extra Arms is give a minion +2/+2, and then add another copy of Arms to your hand, which is also 2 mana. And yeah, I saw a lot of playing Combo Priest. Was it the reason Combo Priest was really good? No, it's like Cleric, Divine Spirit, Amet, things like that. But very good card, very solid. I'll give it a B. But I never saw it as like the standout card. I was quite surprised to see it get nerfed, honestly. I didn't think it was a big offender, and I thought they might revert the nerf from the buff when they did the whole thing. It's kind of crazy how back and forth that goes. Anyways, next we have a Demon Hunter spell, Eye Beam. It's 3 mana, deal 3 damage, and you get lifesteal on it. And Outcast, it would cost 0, and then it was nerfed to cost 1. Still incredibly powerful card in a lot of Demon Hunter decks today, although has kind of taken a backseat lately. But at 0 mana, ridiculously good. It was nerfed on day 1 in Demon Hunter, and I'm going to give it an S. At 0 mana, this card would be in every deck ever, period. It's just so good at 0. At 1, it's still insanely good. So yeah, I'm going to give it an S. Next, we have a 5 mana 5/4 neutral mini Faceless Corruptor. It has Rush and Battle Cry. You transform a friendly minion to a copy of this. It got nerfed to 4/4. Still saw a ridiculous amount of play at 4 as a 4/4. 5/4 just broken. Like 5 mana 10/8 Rush. Like, we all saw this and we're like, oh, it's busted. And yeah, it was busted. S tier minion absolutely was basically in every single standard deck until it got nerfed. And in Wild too. Like, it's just crazy. Next, we have Fiendish Rites, Warlock Invoke card. It's 3 mana, Invoke Galakron, so summon 2 1/1 imps, and give your friendly minions +1 attack. Was really good in like Zoo and in the regular Galakron Warlock decks. Just very powerful. Not like S tier. I don't even think it was A tier. It's one of these cards that was, again, surprised it got nerfed. They wanted to dial back Galakron Warlock, but it's a weird target. I'll give it a B. It was very good. Good card, but I'm not really willing to give it an A. Next, we have Fiery War Axe. Warrior weapon, 2 mana 3/2 weapon, got nerfed to 3 mana. War Axe was Fiery Win Axe for a reason. You played it on 2, you controlled the board, whether you be control or aggressive decks, and you never really lost it. It was just incredibly powerful. Pretty much everything died to it other than like a Totem Golem or like an Annoytron. And yeah, just a staple at every single warrior deck until it got nerfed, and has even seen some fringe play as a 3 mana weapon. S tier, ridiculously good. One of the best weapons ever made. Next, we have Flame Tongue Totem, Shaman Minion. It was a 2 mana 0/3 totem. Give your adjacent minions +2 attack. Got nerfed to 3 mana. It was auto-included in like every single aggressive Shaman deck ever because, well, it's ridiculously good. You bump it 1 by 1 mana. It's unplayable, but as a 2 mana 0/3 totem, it S tier for me. Shaman has really missed this card ever since it got nerfed, and it's never really been the same unless they get just a busted card in an expansion. Next, we have Flare, originally 1 mana, and yeah, you would remove all minions from stealth, whatever, and remove secrets and draw a card. It's just 1 mana, draw a card, remove secrets, just good tempo, like good draw. Like Hunter didn't really have draw, and 1 mana, draw a card plus the bonus effect is very powerful even today. I didn't play this back then. I don't know how prevalent it was back then, but I'm willing to bet it was very powerful. I'll give it a very high A. But correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. Maybe it's S tier. I could be totally wrong. Again, I didn't play during those times. Next, we have Force of Nature. Originally 6 mana spell. And you would summon 3 2/2 treants and they would have charge. So Force of Nature, Savage Roar, 14 damage. You have Emperor stuff, Innervate stuff. Ridiculously good. That finisher was a staple for a very long time until it finally got nerfed. And I believe even today this would still see play. Like 14 damage burst combo in standard is very relevant, and you can still play Force of Nature Savage Roar. It's a meta warper. It was defining for a very long time. I'll give it a low S. Definitely ridiculously good, and nerfed to 5 mana without charge now. Not really quite the same. Next we have Frenzied Fellwing, 4 mana 3/3 minion that for every it costs 1 less for each damage you've done to the enemy hero. So this is quite often a 0 mana 3/3 and was a staple in most aggressive decks because, well, it was a 0 mana 3/3. Aggro Demon Hunter loved it, Galakron Warrior, all these decks, very powerful, insanely good. I'll give it a high A. I won't give it an S. It's not quite Corridor Creeper level of cheating a minion out, but it was very powerful. Next we have Fungal Fortunes, Druid spell. It was 2 mana, draw 3 cards from your deck. If there's any minions drawn, you discard them, so you get any spell or a hero card, you gotta keep it. Was incredibly powerful in Standard and Wild, whether it be Spell Druid in Standard, or like Jade Druid, Armor Druid, anything like that in Wild. 2 mana, draw 3. Turns out is very, very powerful. Got nerfed to 3 mana. I'll give it a very high A. Again, not a meta warping card, but just an incredibly powerful one. Next, we have Gadgetzan Auctioneer. Originally a 5 mana 4/4 minion. Whenever you cast a spell, draw a card. Nerfed to 6, and at 6, it saw a ton of play for many, many years until it basically got power creeped out of the game. But as a 5 mana minion, absolutely busted and broken. Imagine, I didn't play back then, but I can only imagine how ridiculous Miracle Rogue was with a 5 mana Auctioneer and a Leroy we'll talk about in a bit. S tier all the way. I would have loved to have been playing Hearthstone with a 5 mana Auctioneer, because Auctioneer is one of my favorite cards of all time. Next we have the Rogue Galakron. Battlecry would draw a card from your deck, or 2 or 4, and then you get a weapon at 4. And they cost 0. Was nerfed to that they would cost 1. Absolutely ridiculously good card during Descent of Dragons. You don't see it much now, mainly because it's been nerfed. Because, yeah, 1 mana cards just aren't quite the same as 0. You can play this on 7 and play 4 0 mana cards. You can't really play it on 7 and play 4 1 mana cards. But, yeah, I'm going to give this an S. This Galakron was ridiculous. Absolutely crazy. 0 mana cards often break the game. And I felt like this card alone made that deck just so ridiculously strong. Getting it 0 mana Kronks, 0 mana Edwin, 0 mana Dragon Queen. Like, there's just so many ridiculous things. Ugh, busted. Next, we have Giggling Inventors, a 5 mana 2/1 minion. Battlecry summoned 2 Annoyatrons, basically. So 2 Annoyatrons beside it. It was like Dr. Boom, but with Annoyatrons. And then it got nerfed to 7 mana, and then unnerfed to 6 mana. At 5 mana, ridiculously good minion. It was like in almost every deck. It made Blood Knight an extremely meta card because you gotta deal with those Annoyatrons, and Quest Rogue exacerbated the whole issue because they were 4/4s with Divine Shields and Taunt. Ridiculous card. I think at 5 mana it would still see a ton of play in Wild. I'll give it an S. Ridiculously strong card. Next we have Gladebound Adept, Demon Hunter minion. It's a 5 mana 7/4 Battlecry for your heroes. Attack this turn, deal 4 damage. Nerfed to a 6/4. Still a staple in a ton of Demon Hunter decks as a 6/4. And as a 7/4, it's basically the same thing. If you get hit by this, if it goes face, you're going to die regardless of 6 or 7 attack. It's a very strong card, but not insanely meta-defining. I'll give it a low A, but yeah, it was really good at 7/4. It's good at 6/4. It's the same card. It's basically the exact same. Next, we have Hex. It was 3 mana. You transform a minion to a 0/1 frog. It got nerfed to 4. Was auto-include in I don't know how many Shaman decks. And then at 4, it still sees a lot of play. It's still good hard removal, but not quite the efficient removal that it is today. I will give it, I'll give it a high A. I don't want to give it an S because it wasn't really meta-defining, ridiculously strong, but it was just very, very good premium removal. Next, we have Hunter's Mark. It was a 0 mana Hunter spell, and you set minions health to 1. It got nerfed to 1 mana and then 2, and at 0, it was really good, but I would never call this an S tier card. It was very powerful, could do very good tempo removal, but I just, yeah, I can't give it an S. I'll give it an A. Very strong, but definitely not like ridiculously powerful. Next we have Imprisoned Anton. It's a 5 mana 10/6 dormant demon hunter minion, and when it awakened after 2 turns, it would deal 10 damage randomly. Day 1 nerf on this guy as well in Demon Hunter. Ridiculous in odd DH in Wild. Ridiculous aggro Demon Hunter in Standard. Just crazy good. But I honestly believe that as decks got refined, I don't even know if this would stick around at 5. Be very curious to see. I'll give it an A. It was very powerful, but I'm not willing to give it that S tier mark. Next, we have Imprisoned Scrap Imp, the dormant minion for Warlock, 2 mana 3/3, and when it awaken after 2 turns, to give your minions +2/+2. One of the highest mulligan win rate cards of all time. It's very powerful. The deck it was in sucked, but this card was so good that it made that deck viable. It had like over 70% win rate if you had it in your opener. And for that reason alone, I will give it an S. It was just that freaking good that you could play Shield Bearer in like just complete garbage minions like Bluegill Warrior and Stone Test Boar in win games because that card was that busted. And it got nerfed to like only +2/+1, and it's still pretty good, but not quite at that level. Next, we have Innervate, and it was the 0 mana Druid spell. You would gain 2 mana crystals this turn only. Come on. S tier. Ridiculous. They reprinted this as Lightning Bloom, and you get 2 Overload, and it's still like an S tier card. Ridiculous. How was this a card for so long? It tilted me for a very long time. Absolute S tier, ridiculously powerful, and yeah, the reprinted, much worse version is still insanely good. Next we have Invocation of Frost, 1 mana spell for Shaman. You invoke your Galakron, and you freeze a minion. You get a 2/1 with Rush. Really good. This was the best invoke card in my opinion. Even better than the invoke for 2. And yeah, got nerfed to 2 mana, and that killed Galakron Shaman. This was the nail in the coffin when they nerfed this guy, and I was hoping they would unnerf it when they did, but they didn't. But unnerfed, absolute S tier, and I do believe it was stronger than this guy, so we'll throw it around here. It was just insane, especially with cards like Spirit of the Frog in the game. You could tutor, just do the most ridiculous stuff ever. It was just so good. So we have Ironbeak Owl, originally a 2 mana 2/1 beast, silence a minion, nerfed to 3 mana. Still saw play at 3 mana just to get that silence effect, get a beast. And yeah, at 2 is like auto include in like every aggressive deck ever to get through taunt, especially in Hunter because it activates kill command. Probably the S tier silence. I'll give it that. I'll give it a very low S, but I do think for how prevalent it was in so many decks at 2, you just kind of have to include it. And it still sees a lot of play at 3. Then we have Kael'thas Sunstrider, originally 6 mana 4/7. Your third spell costs 0. Then it was nerfed to 7 mana, and it was nerfed to the spells would cost 1 mana. It still sees play after 2 nerfs. At 6, it was bonkers. You could cheat out the most ridiculous things. You had like OTK Demon Hunter, all the Druid stuff, just bust. The card's broken. Absolutely broken. Absolute S tier. Very high on the list. We'll put it just below Barnes. It was that powerful. Next we have Kane Sun Fury, is a 4 mana 3/5 Demon Hunter minion. Has charge, and all your minions ignore taunt. You know, it's still very powerful as a 3/4. Honestly, hasn't changed a lot about the card. It's just a little bit more vulnerable. But again, it's still even a good tempo play as a 3/4. I'll give it a very high A. Don't think it's meta warping. Don't think it's that insane, but a card that it's S tier, but it's close. Very, very close. Next, we have Keeper of the Grove. It was a Druid minion, 4 mana 2/4, and you got to choose one, either deal 2 damage or silence a minion. It was nerfed to a 2/2. This was like auto-include in every Druid deck until it got nerfed, because it was super versatile. You could deal damage, you could silence, just very good, and a 2/4 body for 4. Not great, but not bad. But as a 2/2, just the versatility of it just went, it's just dead. A 4 mana 2/2 is brutal, unplayable, but as a 2/4 is very good. I'm not willing to give it an S, but a very high A for sure. It was very strong. So we have Knife Juggler. It's a 2-mana 3/2 minion that whenever you summon a minion, you deal 1 damage to a random enemy. And yeah, got nerfed to a 2/2. Still saw plenty of play in tons of aggressive decks. And yeah, as a 3/2, it was ridiculous. Premium stat minion that, yeah, could just do a billion damage with its effect, let alone the face damage it could push later. I'll give it a low S. Was just such a staple in so many aggressive decks, and obviously as a 2/2 it still saw a lot of play. Next we have Leeching Poison, 2-mana rogue spell. Give your weapon lifesteal permanently. Then it was nerfed to 1 mana and was for this turn. Very good with Kingsbane. It was basically the only deck it really saw a lot of play in, but man, was it good there in both standard and wild, to the point they're like, yeah, we kind of got to eliminate this. This infinite life-stealing weapon is a little too degen, but it was never top tier. It was never like a tier S deck. It was just very, very good, but very unfun for a lot of people to face, and that's why I got nerfed. Actually going to give this a high B. Might be surprised, but I don't think it was that meta warping, that incredibly good. It was just so obnoxious that people hated it, and it got nerfed. But you might want to argue it's an A tier card. Next, we have Leroy Jenkins. It's a 4-mana 6/2 charge minion, summon 2/1/1 whelps, eventually nerfed to 5. I mean, this card at 5 is S tier, beyond S tier. It got all of famed for a reason. At 4, what the hell were they thinking? You could shadow step this, and then it's 2 mana. I can't even, again, I mentioned I didn't play during the time that this was unnerfed, but oh my god. I don't think it takes a rocket science to figure out that at 4 mana, this card was absolutely broken and an S tier card all the way. Holy crap. Next we have Leper Gnome as a 1-mana 2/1 minion. Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. Was nerfed to a 1/1. Doesn't see a heck of a lot of play as a 1/1, although if you get it off a side quest, it's pretty good. But as a 1-mana 2/1, incredibly good, very aggressive, and a lot of face decks. I'll give it an A, not quite S, but very powerful, very good. Next we have the Hunter Spellstone, originally 5 mana. You'd summon 2 3/3 wolves that would upgrade for every secret you played, capping out at 4 wolves. It was nerfed to 6, then reverted back to 5. Sees play at 5, even wild. Today was a very powerful card, very good, and yeah, I'll give it an A. Very powerful card, solid. It was definitely warranted of a nerf, I think, but it was never the most insanely powerful card. But I gotta put a bit lower than that. But yeah, it was definitely a solid A. So we have Level Up, 5-mana Paladin spell. Give your Silver Hand recruits +2/+2 in taunt. When Baku came into the game, this card, ridiculous. So good. Click the button, level up. Click the button, Quartermaster. Busted. Then it got bumped to 6, you never see this anymore. But at 5 mana, it was very solid, but more of a result of other S tier cards in my opinion. But it was very, very good in those decks, so we'll definitely give it an A. But yeah, not the strongest card on its own. Well, on its own, Luna's Pocket Galaxy isn't that strong, you need to run minions. But it originally was 7 mana, buffed to 5, then nerfed to 7. And at 5 mana is one of the most broken cards ever in Hearthstone, especially when you introduce cards like Kaligos. And later on, Dragon Queen. Thankfully, it wasn't 5 when that came out. But yeah, unbelievably crazy good mage spell. One of the most broken things ever. Coining Pocket Galaxy on 4. Oh my goodness. S tier all the way. Very high up. Next, we have another mage card, Mana Worm, 1 mana, 1/3 after you cast a spell. Gain +1 attack, staple in almost every single mage deck that wasn't Freeze Mage. Infinitely scaling 1-drop that was hard to remove and could get out of control incredibly fast. Imagine this card today with like magic tricks in primordial glyphs and all that, although glyph did exist when this was unnerfed. Regardless, it'd be insane, and it was insane back then. Now 2 mana, pretty unplayable, but it definitely an S tier minion for mage. You can go hang out with Flame Tongue. They were just ridiculous. Super good, crazy powerful. Next, we have Master of Disguise. It's a rogue minion, 4 mana, 4/4, Battlecry. Give a friendly minion stealth. This is permanent, so it'll be stealth until they attack or whatever. And then it got nerfed to be for a turn. Never really ever saw play unnerfed. But this was more of like a future design thing that they wanted to avoid, having an infinite stealth minion that would just be problematic. So they nerfed it. I'm going to give this an F because it never really saw any play that I'm aware of, especially Conceal was out. You would just Conceal, it was just better. You never needed the permanent stealth. And also, I don't know what you would utilize. Maybe both? I have no idea what you'd utilize today. to take advantage of it. But yeah, I'll give it an F. Definitely not the strongest. Next, we have Metamorphosis, a Demon Hunter legendary spell. 5 mana. You change your hero power to deal 5 damage. You get to do it twice. 5 mana Pyroblast. Incredibly powerful. It was like in every Demon Hunter deck until it got nerfed. And now at 8 damage, not quite the same, but I'll give it a high A. I'll put it with Kane. It was very, very powerful, but I won't put it quite S, but you could argue that one for sure. Next, we have Mind Render Elucia, recently nerfed Priest minion. It's a 2 mana 1/3 Battlecry swap hand and deck with your opponent for a turn. Got nerfed to 3 mana, which is very good, especially in Wild and Reno Priest, swapping, sealing the win condition. And even in Standard, just, playing on 2, sealing your opponent's coin, taking the tempo away. It was very powerful. And of course, sealing combos and that. Very good. I'll give it an A. I don't think it's like an S tier minion, but it was very powerful, very obnoxious, very disgusting design. And yeah, still sees play at 3 mana, but mostly in Wild these days, just to disrupt combos, which Wild it's much more prevalent. Next, we have Mogu Flesh Shaper. It's a 7 mana 3/4 Shaman minion. It costs 1 less for each minion on the battlefield. Now it's 9 mana, not so playable. At 7, it was really good. Yeah, mutate, evolve. Yeah, very powerful. I'll give it an A. Not meta warping, but very good. Next, we have Molten Giant, with 20 mana epic minion, and then it got buffed, nerfed to 25, reverted back to 20. And yeah, staple them like Canlock, Holy Wrath, Paladin, things like that. Just very, very strong minion. You get low on health, you're toned up. It's really good. And recently you've seen it pop up in like Dark Lair Warlock, unnerfed as well. I'll give it an A. Very powerful giant. Saw a lot of good play, did a lot of good things. Next we have Murloc Warleader. Originally was a 3 mana 3/3 Murloc. They gave your other Murlocs +2/+1. Got nerfed to take away the health bonus. Still super strong in every Murloc deck ever right now. And yeah, back then even more busted. We'll give it an S tier. I mean, it's a staple in every Murloc deck ever, and it was even more powerful back in the day. Naga Sea Witch, it was a 5 mana 5/5. Your other cards cost 5. Broke the game when they changed the way the card discounts worked. You could play it in Wild and cheat out a bunch of 0 mana giants. Broken, got nerfed to like 8 mana, I believe. Not so broken now, but yeah, S tier, meta warping card in Wild only. It wasn't broken in Standard because it didn't work that way until later in its life. Next, we have Necreum Apothecary, 4 mana 2/5 rogue minion. Combo, you draw a death rattle card from your deck, and this would gain its death rattle. Nerf to 5. You would cheat out like Mechanical Whelp. You would cheat out the hand buff 9-drop minion Sentinel, whatever it's called. Ridiculous. Super good. I'll give it a very high A. It was just obnoxious. That high roll was ridiculous, and it got nerfed really quickly. Next, we had Nourish, 5 mana Druid spell. Choose one. Gain 2 crystals, or draw 3 cards. Nerfed to 6. Staple in like every Druid deck until it got nerfed, and even at 6, he's playing like Quest Druid. Yeah, S tier Druid card. Super powerful. Ramping, drawing, all great. And yeah, Druid kind of misses this card at 5. We have in the Waygate Mage Quest. Originally cast 6 spells that didn't start in your deck. Nerfed to 8. We all know the deal. This card is S tier all the way in Wild. Never S tier in Standard, but we're going to evaluate it based mostly on Wild. Just so good there. Even at 8, it's super good. And it saw plenty of play in Standard during its time. Just, yeah, it didn't come into its pure degeneracy until Wild really got its hands on it. Next, we have Patches the Pirate. 1 mana 1/1 pirate with charge, and you would summon this from your deck if you played a pirate from hand. It's S tier without charge. It's one of the most busted cards ever. Definite S, ridiculous, and yeah, imagine this card today with charge. Holy crap. Possess Lackey, 5 mana 2/2 Warlock minion. Death Rattle, recruit a demon. Q-Block was the nuts. This card was a big part of it. You could cheat out a Doomguard, a Void Lord on turn 5. Turn 4 if you coined it out. And it's just so ridiculously good. I'll give it an S. I do think this would see play in Wild today at 5, but at 6, just too slow. Preparation, 0 mana rogue spell. Your next spell this turn costs 3 less. Now it's 2. S tier, auto include in like every rogue deck for the most part. You could cheat out your rogue quest early. Like it's preparation. Busted. Next, we have Priestess of Fury. 7 mana, 6/7 Demon Hunter minion. Deals 6 damage randomly amongst enemies. It was Ragnaros for cheaper. It was a demon. It was nuts. Is it S tier? No. A lot of decks actually started cutting it before it got nerfed. but it was very, very strong. I'll actually give it a pretty low A, but it's a Glade-bound style, very powerful Demon Hunter minion, but with everything else going on with Demon Hunter, it exemplified the issue, you know? We have Raiding Party, originally 3 mana, draw 2 pirates, combo, draw a weapon from your deck, nerfed to 4, reverted back to 3, absolutely insane card at 3. I'm going to give it a low S. You still see it a ton in Wild and Kingsbane Rogue, and was just one of the most powerful cards ever in Rogue, in my opinion. Ridiculously good. Rise of the Priest Legendary, 5 mana, 5/5, your hero power costs 0 if you have no duplicates in your deck. Nerfed to 1 mana, reverted back to 0. Wasn't very good until Anduin came along, but once Anduin came along, it became an S tier minion, and it still is an S tier minion. And yeah, I mean, it's just nuts. 0 mana hero power with infinite pings is ridiculous, and it's still the absolute giga nuts right now in Wild, so definitely an S tier minion. Next we have Reckless Experimenter. It's a 5 mana 4/6 priest minion, and your death rattle minions you play cost 3 less, but die at the end of the turn. And then it was nerfed so that they couldn't cost below 1, and then it was reverted back to what it was. Basically, they had to nerf this because they introduced Snip Snap, and it was going to introduce an OTK, and they had to get rid of it. And then they reverted it once they nerfed the Echo effect on Snip Snap. And yeah, we'll just have to say, I'm going to give it a C. The card wasn't terrible. It saw a little bit of play, but was never really in a tier 1, tier 2, or basically tier 3 deck. But you did have the Mechathune combo with it, so I'll give it that. Not quite the Dreadsteed Master Disguise that literally never saw competitive play, but it did pop up, so we'll give it its due there. We have Rockbiter, Shaman Spell, give a friendly character +3 attack, buff, nerf to 2, insanely good still, even at 2. Well, not insanely good, but good. And, you know, Doomhammer, Rockbiter, ridiculous. You could play it for 7 mana and just do an insane amount of damage. And, you know, just this flexibility of 1 mana, deal 3, remove Mana Worm. Really good. Very solid. S tier. Still sees plenty of play as a 2 mana spell. Next we have Sack Pack, 0 mana Warlock spell. Destroy a demon, restore 5 health. Eventually nerfed to destroy a friendly demon. And yeah, I mean, it was good. Not great. It didn't really become prevalent until Zephyrus could give you the option. You could destroy big demons, which weren't popular for the most part until Demon Hunter was introduced to the game, so they nerfed it. I'm going to give this a C. Sack Pack was just never really meta-defining, ever. There's only really a stable like Galakron Warlock, and it's just one of those fringe cards. Yeah, Jiraxxus dies to this, but Jiraxxus was playable for a very long time while Sack Pack was still in the game. I think, you know, it got nerfed, and I get why they did it, but it was never a very powerful card. Serenite Chain Gang, 4 mana 2/3, taunt minion, Battlecry, summon a copy of itself. So this got nerfed to basically summon another Serenite Chain Gang. So it lost its Keleseth abilities, but it was mostly nerfed so Shudderwalk could no longer go infinite in standard. But this was a very powerful card. It wasn't just using Shudderwalk Shaman. Like I mentioned, it was using Keleseth decks, or just any deck that just wanted multiple taunt bodies. It was not bad whatsoever. I'll give it a very high A. This is borderline S. It was very versatile, but I won't quite give it that S tier mark, but very good card. Next we have Scavenger's Ingenuity, 2 mana Hunter spell. Draw a beast, give it +3/+3. It was nerfed to +2/+2. Still sees plenty of play today in like Face Hunter. Imagine it +3/+3 these days. It'd be very powerful, and it's still very good. I'll give it a very high A. Again, I don't want to give it an S. It wasn't meta warping. It was just very, very strong. A very good card, but you know, not quite the juggernaut of the S tier cards. Next we have Scion of Ruin, warrior minion that when you invoke twice, you'd summon 2 copies of this, so it would retain buffs from like Galakron, things like that. Nerfed pretty quickly. At 4 mana, was very powerful, and very good card. I'll give it an A. Again, not meta warping, but very, very powerful. Then we have Secret Passage, 1 mana rogue spell. Draw 5 cards from your deck. You swap it with your hand. You know the deal. It got nerfed to 4 mana, and is still an auto-include in tons of rogue decks. I'm going to give this an S. One of the most ridiculous cards they have made in recent years. Just 1 mana draw 5. What were they thinking? It's still busted at 4. Crazy good. Next we have Shadow Boxers, a 2 mana 2/3 minion, and whenever a friendly character is healed, it would deal a damage to a random enemy. Then they changed it to a friendly minion. Basically, they were introducing lifesteal. They were worried about infinite chaining lifesteal effects, so they wanted to nerf it. Basically, quality of life condition. Shadow Boxer was never really a top tier minion, but it saw a bit of play. It wasn't terrible, so we'll give it that C mark, but again, it was more of one of these future-proofing type of cards. We have Shadow Jeweler Hanar, Rogue Legendary, 2 mana 1/5, nerfed to a 1/4, and whenever you play a secret, you discover another secret from another class. ridiculously powerful. Sees play today in Secret Road, just infinitely generating value as a 2-drop. I'll give it a very high A. Not quite S tier, but very, very strong. We have Skull of Gul'dan, 5-mana Demon Hunter spell. Draw 3 cards, outcost it, cast 3 cards, cost 3 less. It's now 6 mana, still busted at 6, but at 5 it was one of the most broken cards ever. Odd Demon Hunter in Wild, aggro Demon Hunter in Standard, ridiculously good. One of the best cards ever. Ever. So broken. Definite S tier all the way. Sludge Slurper, 1 mana 2/1 Shaman minion, was nerfed to 1/1, reverted back to a 2/1. Battle Cry, add a lackey to your hand, you overload 1. Solid Shaman minion. Doesn't see a lot of play these days because Shaman sucks, but very good. I'll give it based on how bad Shaman is these days, I'll still give it a low A. Not a B, but yeah. It's just a really good 1-drop. That's all it is. It's a really good 1-drop. We have Small Time Buccaneer, 1 mana Pirate. It's a 1 mana 1/2. Get +2 attack while you have a weapon equipped. Got nerfed to 1/1. One of the most broken 1-drops ever. It's a 1 mana Flame Imp, and all you needed to do as a rogue is Dagger, or as a warrior, play N'Zoth's First Mate or equip War Axe on 2. Busted. S tier minion, one of the most busted 1-drops ever. And was, yeah, nerfed pretty damn quick. Record time, basically, back in those days. Really, really crazy card. Next, I'm going to group all the Echo cards that got nerfed into one. So like Snip Snap, Sound the Bells, and Glinda. Lump it all together into one package with Snip Snap. And we'll just say S tier. Snip Snap Glinda made one of the most broken decks in Wild. Snip Snap Warlock and Snip Snap as a whole, as just a general minion by itself, was just broken. And the nerf was that it could no longer cost 0 if you kept replicating it, if there was a way of cheating out that mana. So yeah, absolute S tier card on nerfed. Next we have Soulfire. It was 0 mana, deal 4 damage, discard a random card. And now, yeah, it costs 1 and is still a staple in tons of aggressive decks. S tier unnerfed, ridiculous. I didn't play it unnerfed, so again, this is kind of one where I'm going to make an assumption, but I can't see how a 0 mana Soulfire is not S tier. Next, we have Spirit Claws, 1 mana Shaman weapon, gain +2 attack if you have spell damage. So, I rolled spell damage totem on 2. I win the game. And then it got nerfed to 2, and that didn't happen anymore. Ridiculously strong. It was basically a better War Axe on 1. If you rolled spell damage totem, it made Blood Mage very meta back in the day. This card was busted. I'm actually definitely giving it an S. It was just ridiculous. It was like a 3/3 weapon on turn 1. What the hell? Next we have Spiteful Summoner, 6 mana 4/4 epic. Battle Cry, you reveal a spell from your hand and you get a minion of the same cost. Got nerfed to 7, reverted back to 6. Still see some play in Wild today. Back in the day, it was really strong in Standard, but I wouldn't give it an S. It was just a really, really powerful high roll card, especially in conjunction with cards like UI, Mind Control. The Amber card for Priest was very, very good. Spreading Plague originally cost 5 mana. You summon a Scarab for 1/5 Scarab for each minion your opponent has. Got nerfed to 6. It's still like in almost every Druid deck in Wild ever. One of the most busted cards ever at 5. You could play this with unnerfed Nourish in the same turn. Draw into this. Busted. Ridiculously busted. One of the most hated cards of all time, I believe. Definitely give it a very high S. Next we have Starving Buzzard. Again, before my time, but as a 2 mana 2/1 beast for Hunter that would draw a card whenever you would summon a beast. Play it with the 2 mana Unleash. What the hell? Busted, broken, ridiculous. S tier all the way. I don't need to have played during this time to understand how ridiculously broken it is to give the most aggressive archetype in the game insane card draw. Hello, Skull of Gul'dan. Next, we have Tuskar Totemic Shaman minion, 3 mana 3/2 Battle Cry. Summon any random totem. It could be any totem, not a basic totem, which it got nerfed to. So you could get Totem Golem, Manatide Totem, Flame Tongue Totem, or even now you could get Totem Goliath. That'd be crazy. Busted, broken, ridiculous. This card was like the best card outside of Tunnel Drog. Actually, it's better than Tunnel Trog. The win rate on this card, if you high rolled a good totem, was insane back in the day. S tier all the way. Broken beyond belief. Next, we have Twin Slice, 0 mana Demon Hunter spell. Give your hero +1 attack. Get a second slice in your hand. Does the same thing. Nerf to 1 mana +2 attack. If you want to call it a nerf. S tier card at 0. It's S tier at 1 with the +2 attack. It's so good. It's so busted. And with Altruist at 3 mana, holy crap, ridiculous. Next we have Undertaker, before my time, but you know what I'm going to give this. 1 mana, 1/2 minion. Play Death Rattle minion gets +1/+1, nerfed to just only get +1 attack. S tier, Undertaker Hunter has one of the highest win rates of all time for a reason, and it was this card. And there were other Undertaker decks as well. Infinitely snowballing 1-drop that just got out of control super fast, just dominated the game until it got nerfed. Next we have 2 mana Unleash, summon 1/1 town with charge, got nerfed to 3 mana, and incredibly powerful at 3. S tier, we'll put it with Starving Buzzard. That seems like a pretty unfair combination of cards, and I'm glad I didn't play during that time, because holy crap, that is broken. Next we have Warglaives of Azzinoth, 5 mana 3/4 weapon for Demon Hunter. After you attack a minion, your hero can attack again. This carried Odd DH, this carried Aggro Demon Hunter. This card just let you control the board forever and ever, basically, until you killed your opponent. Unbelievably broken. One of the best Demon Hunter cards out there. We'll put it in here. Not quite 5 mana Skull of Gul'dan, but man, there are a lot of S tier Demon Hunter cards that got nerfed. My goodness. Next we have Warsong Commander, 3 mana 2/3 warrior minion that gave all minions with 3 attack or less charge. Incredibly powerful, especially in Grim Patron Warrior, which is the deck that inevitably got this card Warsong. Just gives your minions, your charge minions +1 attack. It's one of the most unplayable cards in Hearthstone history. But back in the day, incredibly powerful. I'll give it a high A. I don't think it's an S tier on its own, but I don't know. I don't know how to... It's such a weird one, because the Patron, the frothing, all of that stuff really made this insane, but the frothing made it insane. So, you know what? We'll give it a low S. It's an S. It's an S. I'll just shut up. I won't overcomplicate it. Warsong unnerfed, we'll give it an S. Wild Growth, originally 2 mana, gain an empty mana crystal, nerfed to 3. 2 mana Wild Growth. It would still be busted today. Just, you play Growth on 2, you win the game so many times. Absolutely broken. S tier Druid card. I'll put it with Plague. They're that similar of a level. Just insanely good. And last, we have Yogg Saron, 10 mana 7/5 legendary minion. You cast spell. For every spell you cast this game randomly. Was nerfed that if it died or transformed itself or silenced, it would stop. Then unnerfed. Incredibly powerful during its time in Standard. Meta defining. Doesn't see much play these days in the wild because 10 mana is too slow. But Yogg, I'll give you an S. You decided so many freaking games and you were incredibly powerful. So there you have it. I tried to go through it as fast as possible. That is a lot of nerfed cards, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below. What do you agree with, disagree with? I would love to hear it. And again, if whatever tier list you guys would like to see, comment as well in the comments below. I'm always reading and I'm always taking a look. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.